And let's introduce our players spawning down here in the bottom position. To start things off, give it up for Parting. And his opponent hanging out at the top, formerly of Gen Air Green Wings, give it up for MARU. And of course, hanging out with Team NV, going up against probably one of the more vocal Protoss players in the world. He has certainly made a comeback from semi-retirement. Obviously, his streams, very fun to watch, just because he has all these different ways to play it out, and he can kind of catch you off guard with a lot of the things that he does. Obviously, one of the biggest things that he's done that can really just crush through you is this one strategy where he's taken the Max Packs build and instead utilized it much more effectively with some of these locations. And it looks like right now here on Romanticide, he is going to be going for a bit of a proxy location based off the positioning. Probably going to say that this is going to be Stargate. We do have the cybernetics core down, so that would be the most reasonable assumption. So yeah, Maru's just got to be a little bit careful of that. Right now, he does see that there's no pylon next to the natural, and that is already a huge tell for our blue Terran player. So he's just going to have to scout out quite heavily here in order to feel safe. But I do like this. He did skip the Reaper once again. Just going to scout with the SCV. And yeah, this is just a little bit safer because it does allow you to keep that Marine production going much, much quicker. Now he is going to come in. But one pixel away. Does he get it? He does in the end. And now Parting with the additional gateways being added on. This is a very, very aggressive strategy right now. I think that's actually a gateway. That's not a Stargate. I was so confused there for a second. But yep, it is indeed a 3 or 4 gate situation. The fourth one on the way right now. Warp gate. Almost finished. As soon as that finishes up, then Parting is going to pounce. But remember, he has invested so heavily into this. The transition is going to have to be off the back of massive amounts of damage. Otherwise, you're just going to open yourself up to way too much Terran aggression behind it. Now, already 5 adepts. That is a pretty good number. MARU, is he paying attention to that ramp? He so far is. The SCV is going to have to be pulled to keep away from the death pull right now. And a couple of stalkers just being added on for that extra DPS. I think that is a nice little add-on because they can snipe these Marines from a distance. The siege tank is almost complete. Starport, so medevacs will be there soon. A little bit of focus fire on that bunker. Going to get rid of the adepts. But it's the stalkers that's the real big problem here. The bunker going down. And now the natural is pretty much forfeit. MARU down 27 workers to the 38 of Parting. Honestly, like, even if Parting wanted to get out of here right now, he has done exactly what he needed to do in order to transition into the next stage of this game. Honestly, this is looking pretty bad for MARU as well. Even though he's repairing with one SCV, he's gonna have to get a little bit more healing damage in there as Parting finally gets that recall. So, not getting the CC, but that is such a long time having to repair that up. That is a huge mineral investment for MARU, and as you can kind of see, he is still pumping out pure Marines. Looks like he's gonna be gearing up for a bit of a drop with 1 siege tank, 2 siege tanks in position in case it is a blink follow-up, which, by the way, it is. So now the Stalker's kind of just dancing around a little bit, cleaning up the wall. Is MARU gonna have to get a cancel on that engineering bait? Parting's big goal right now is just to go for a soft contain. He's up one base as MARU's third CC is not yet complete. And so he's feeling pretty comfortable with his lead in this game. It's just really difficult for MARU to break out right now. And yeah, exactly that. Even just going to get this Adept in here, forcing MARU to pay attention to the supply depot wall there, using the siege tank for a little bit of friendly fire damage. That was absolutely hilarious from Parting. Going a little bit too far forward with the Stalkers, though. A bit of an aggressive blink there, only getting a couple of SCVs. I guess he is just trying to delay the wall a little bit. But again, there's no Adepts here. And he's just continuously adding on. Now, I don't want to say that this is bad for Parting, as he is still getting that transition into kind of this Charge Lot Archon Templar army. So he will be getting Storm. He will be getting those splash damage in the Archons versus a very heavy Marine-based army. So it's not terrible, but you still don't want to be kind of sacrificing these units, because if you do, then MARU has that little bit of a window to kind of push out with these siege tanks and hit a okay timing. You know, obviously at this point in the game, MARU's probably not thinking that. He's probably thinking, okay, I'm behind. I just need to turtle up and defend. But again, just losing the units in the front, you losing the Stalkers, it can be a bit of a detriment. Now, I like this move. Parting getting ready for a bit of a drop play. Stim, by the way, still not done at the 8-minute mark. The Stalkers blinking their way in, get a siege tank, getting rid of the missile turret as well, and now kind of just hanging out, waiting for that cooldown. Nice little pick off there, finishing up with a medevac. So kind of taking a look at the state of the game. Parting has just been so cost efficient, only losing 5 Adepts and 1 Stalker, and getting so many kills for it. Yeah, that third base coming on up or fourth base rather, just extending that lead. 2 of these siege tanks in a very bad position. Looks like he's trying to lift up and get on top of the Stalkers, but that is a very risky proposition for himself. The Stalkers, though, do have to blink back as the big Warping of Zealots cleaning up a lot of this. But, yeah, now it is time for Parting to get out of there before he overextends too much. Alright, so only getting about 3 workers there. That's not the worst situation in the world. What he did do is reset that army count a little bit. So obviously that is going to delay any chance of MARU to be out on the map. And a couple of big Warpins here. Looks like Parting is just going to keep that pressure on as well. He's got 2 War Prisms ready to go, as well as that upper location. A huge storm going to blanket that army. The Marauders may tank up some of it, but the Marines just can't do that. In terms of healing energy, these medevacs starting to run a little bit low. And now with the backstab here, the Zealots crushing through. MARU just not mining at all, essentially, in this game. So now the scan going to go down, revealing how big that army is. Still has a couple. Did he lose the War Prism? He did. He lost the War Prism with so much storm energy. Oh my goodness, that is actually a huge thing. So now he's got to wait for a while to bank up more storm energy. He currently has none available to him. And if you're fighting with just pure gateway units, that's the best opportunity for MARU to come back into it. Now keep in mind though that there is still not a Ghost Academy available to him. So no EMPs. He did start up a couple of Vikings, which I think did finish there. And indeed he will be able to clean up the War Prism here. So MARU, you know, while he is turtled up, I don't hate it right now because he's starting to kind of build up critical mass. Granted, he's not in a great position, but if he can kind of force a couple of bad fights out of parting, that's all he necessarily needs to do. Yeah, Scan gonna go down, revealing that the Colossus is fake. But as that Zealot count starts to rise, the +2 upgrades starting to kind of trickle in here for both sides. As well as that Dark Shrine and the Run-By going to be coming in as well. Some nice Widow Mines there. Just going to shut that down, though, immediately. And now Parting is kind of just sitting out another soft contain situation. Waiting for the perfect time to strike. Just going to be adding on the Disruptors as well. And I think that's the best move here because his opponent, he did get the Viking count up. So trying to go into Colossus is not going to be the best situation for him. I like this. MARU trying to sneak out some units as well. Those will get popped by the Stalkers. Over here, we do have that Warp Prism ready to go in as well. How far would these guys get? Probably about to the first cannon. And I think at this point, MARU's heart has got to be sinking a little bit. Because obviously at this point, you know, Parting can start to build up that really critical bank of himself. You can kind of see he's up about 2,000 minerals. A couple of storms going down in this engagement. But yeah, MARU is just still broke during this entire thing. And while he will get a decent trade here, you know, dodging a lot of the storms and kind of forcing this army back, he's still got to contend with a huge warp in the main base, and he can't really afford to divide his forces up. He doesn't have a lot of splash available to him. And these Zealots just crushing through his economy over and over again. Looks like a big disruptor hit right there going down, killing off a lot of his units. Now currently 151 to 174 as Parting kind of trying to fight up the ramp. Can't go too far, loses the storm. And now Parting just going to crush through here. And while he can't necessarily close it out, this is pretty much a death by 1,000 cuts situation here. Forcing the lift up. This is just too much. So many Zealots. He's going to need some monster Widowmine shots in order to stay in it. And even then, it's not going to help. GG is called, and Parting will take game number 1 of this best of 3 series. And so we head on to our next map, 2,000 Atmospheres Under the Sea. Someone call the Little Mermaid because these guys are going for a swim. And without further ado, let's introduce these guys once again. As we have spawning in the bottom left position with a resounding success in that first game. Give it up for Parting. And his opponent up here in the top. A little bit of a stumble early on, but I think if anyone can come back from it, it's this guy. For Team NV, he is MARU. And so I think that kind of shows the playstyle that is just so devastating to deal with, as Parting really just puts the pressure on and never really let up, giving MARU a chance to kind of tech back up, never really allowing him to build up that critical mass on 3 bases, which is just really kind of the goal of a Terran player. Get up to 3 bases, have those drops out on the map, get some probe kills here and there. But yeah, I think 2000 Atmosphere is a little bit of a bigger map overall, so that just will kind of make it the kind of situation where MARU will have a little bit more of an opportunity for these pushes, as we do see Parting going to once again go for the proxy right outside the main base. This time, I will say it is going to be potentially Gateway again. I don't think this is going to be the Stargate Void Ray rush. That would just kind of be silly, as I think MARU has shown that he is very good at deflecting stuff like that. But then again, what do I know, as Parting just going to be dropping that down. The shield battery is going to be right behind it. And now this probe just has to stay alive in order to make this work. Now, MARU did cancel that reactor. So he's not going to really have that high of a production of Marines. Instead, going to use the extra minerals to drop down the factory as quickly as possible. Cyclones, just absolutely essential for this defense. Oh my goodness, if that Zealot would have made it in, that would have been hilarious, but also like really heartbreaking for MARU. But now we kind of had this small little lull before that first Void Ray comes out. The bunkers are in place, so it's kind of just a who gets to critical mass first. As the Void Ray straying a little bit far, MARU is supply blocked for just a couple of seconds here, so keeping those supply depots alive again is just going to be one of the big goals here for MARU. Void Ray finding a nice little angle where the bunker can't help him. Baiting it forward just a little bit here with this Adept. But the first Cyclone is out. The Adept will go down. The second Void Ray going to be coming in as well. But now it's going to be in range of the bunker. In terms of that upgrade, the Cyclone's range and speed upgrade, that is pretty much going to be kind of the linchpin of the defense. It takes such a long time to research, though. So MARU's just going to do anything he can to buy time. Even trying to bait these Void Rays forward, that is so risky here with 2 of them out on the field. Shield batteries as well just have a lot of energy available to them. So these Void Rays are not going to be going down anytime soon. It looks like Parting has actually cut Void Ray production for the meantime. Going to focus on a ground army. Which, you know, I don't disagree with that. I think that can work out pretty well. But you're going to have to ramp up production very, very heavily here in order to make that work. Now, a little bit of a drop going to be dropping out as well. Always a nice little move here, but it does leave you a little bit open. Void Ray is going to pop, but just a little bit too much firepower. That is the power of that upgrade of those Cyclones. And that's why he does have them out here. Now, Blink is done. Warp Gate still not researched, though, so there's not going to be any Stalkers back at home. And this is actually amazing for MARU. Even if he doesn't kill a ton of the probes, they are forced off the line for so long, and 9 of them already going down. Total of 12, and he does finish off this proxy location. So Parting now going to be scrambling to reinforce himself here. This is such a huge timing for MARU. Before that production ramps up for Parting, before he can really rebuild that unit count, I just think MARU, he has that opportunity to move out soon. As the Stalker's going to be moving their way across, just trying to get as many pickoffs as possible. Just trying to slow down this young Korean legend. Nice little move here as well, just getting that Viking to get a couple of additional kills, which is always nice because it does force a couple of defensive Stalkers to stay back at home. Siege tanks blasting through here as these Stalkers getting chased down by the Cyclones. Honestly, I think at this point, this is Parting's last huzzah, as really, once he loses these Stalkers, he doesn't really have anything to speak of, as he really hasn't done anywhere near the amount of damage that he does. And there you have it, MARU tying up the series 1 apiece. Which does mean we're going to be going into game number 3 on Oxide. Now, if you guys know anything about Oxide, it is one of those maps that can be very good for the Terran pushes. It can be very good for the proxy locations. It is such a nice map for that aggressive kind of play style. And let's see if that's how these guys want to do it, because spawning down here in the bottom left corner of the map, give it up for Parting. And his opponent, up here in the top, on his last life, but also 1 life away from victory, he is MARU. And so already, you know, MARU gets those little alarm bells ringing in his head as he sends that SCV very, very early on, just trying to slow down Parting for as long as humanly possible, dropping that engineering bay, to which Parting says, I don't care. I'm just going to do a little bit of scouting of my own, make sure that you don't have a Rax out on the map, and you know, I can always take that 3rd base a little bit easier if I want to. But, you know, right now he's going to send a few too many probes out. I say too many, but yeah, he's going to send a few to try and get rid of that Engi Bay as quickly as possible. Alright, gets the cancel right there. Does get delayed on his base down here. All good, all understandable. Now keep in mind as well that there is no proxy on the map for either side, so Parting just going to be playing this one a little bit more straight up, I'd imagine. As, you know, when all your tech is out on the other side of the map, on a map like Oxide, yeah, you might die just a little bit too quickly. But now I am kind of interested to see what Parting will be going for here. He still hasn't dropped down his tech of choice, instead just going straight for warp gate research, getting an additional Stalker out there, potentially to poke around a little bit. But yeah, so far not throwing anything down, more than likely with what we're seeing. I'm gonna say it's gonna be Twilight Council. And please note, I did not watch this replay in advance. That was literally a good prediction. But yeah, even looking at this, MARU's making a couple of small mistakes in delaying his orbital command from going up. These Marines kind of going a little bit far forward, searching for the Adept. But now we are just going to have that little bit of a lull in the action as these guys kind of power up and get ready for the next phase, the mid-game. Just kind of poking around. It is, oh my goodness. So keeping an eye on the amount of additional gateways. He will drop down 3, which is the magic number for Blink if you want to just kind of stay defensive with it. So basically, if you have 3 gateways with Blink, then you're just going to warp in some stalkers at home, maybe send them out on the map to be a little bit pokey to make sure that your opponent's not coming across. Yeah, but then you're just going to transition into either disruptors, storm, that kind of thing. But here we go. MARU already at his doorstep. Blink not yet complete, but there is an overcharged shield battery already available to him. He's just got to fight in range of it. And now as the Marines kind of just fighting for their lives, that medevac trying to heal up as quickly as possible. That is going to be pretty important for him. But just going to, honestly, I think, just, yeah, focus fire down the robo facility here. That's going to delay any sort of aggression that Parting decides to go for. And this is a huge amount of his production in these 2 gateways. The shield battery is gone as well. That is not going to be utilized anytime soon. So now Parting just kind of sending these stalkers out, going for a little bit of a flank. He will get one of the siege tanks, but that is going to be a costly trade for him there. As now MARU, since he doesn't need to rely on those siege tanks, is just going to jump in, pounce right on the mineral line. Back at home, it looks like one of those Adepts did get in. And maybe got a workers, so overall the losses are equal. But MARU still being such a huge nuisance with these few units that he has. And overall, 6 workers going down as he transitions into that 3rd base. Getting a couple of more siege tanks as well, just to make sure that he stays safe versus the counterattack, which is coming his way. It's pure stalker, though. So, yeah, 2 siege tanks should be enough. I think the biggest thing for MARU, though, is that we're about 6 minutes into this game, and he still does not have Stimpack, not even researching. That attack took so much of his attention away that he didn't even really ramp up his production at all. His macro kind of slipping a little bit. But, I mean, in the end, it does work out a bit because, kind of taking a look here, he took out so many of Parting's gateways, but now the SCVs having to be pulled. Parting kind of just dancing around here, looking for as much damage as possible. And again, just like a little bit of a tiger, he's exerting his map presence for as long as humanly possible because he knows he can't really get in here super efficiently. Even trying to get the siege tank, taking a couple of additional shots to make that happen. So these stalkers just getting weaker and weaker Will get the refinery, though, so trying to slow down the gas mining. Honestly, I think he needs a little bit more here, and he's just not getting it. One thing to note, though, is MARU's Marauder count is essentially non-existent at this time. So that is one of his little bits of concern, but now that he does have the five racks at producing, that's going to change very, very quickly here as scans going down, seeing what his opponent is going for in the main base and the natural. It looked like he did want to go for a drop, but instead he's just going to try and walk out on the map as the siege tanks are already here, ready to go. Oh, these stalkers getting caught between a rock and a hard place. Might be able to get the siege tanks, though, which is always a nice pickoff. For getting on out of there, he sacrificed quite a few of his stalkers to make that happen, though. So far, 19 going down in this game, and the rest will follow if he's not careful. Oh, man, but if anything, this is MARU's best opportunity to dive on in. He's got these Widow Mines, making it very difficult for the Zealots to engage in. Huge Widow Mine connections, just absolutely decimating that line. Keep in mind as well, there's no upgrades here. The Storm being the saving grace for only a second. As that shield battery runs out of energy, the Archon not even going to make its way in. And MARU, as he pushes his way through, I think he has essentially done it in this game. A valiant little bit of a defense here for parting, but losing the War Prism. GG. MARU takes the game, and he takes the series. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you check out all of Alpha X's social media just to make sure that you can see our next big event, and we will see you at the next big game.